One of my very dear friends, Jim Bob Duggar, and his entire family will occupy the stage. When his whole family shows up, but I've known Jim Bob Duggar and his wife Michelle and their wonderful children. I've known them for many years, first as friends, and then Jim Bob as one of our treasured legislators in the state of Arkansas during my tenure as governor there. If there ever was a person who exudes authenticity of his faith and of a sense of fatherhood and responsibility, it's Jim Bob Duggar.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, March 21st. Over the weekend, a story I have been covering on my Instagram went global. Yes, that's right, because literally every publication on the planet, okay, not every publication, but major outlets across the country and the globe started covering the coverage of the group 7M, the dance group that has been making waves on social media because Miranda Wilking, now Derek's parents and sister, say that she is trapped inside of a group that is controlling every facet of her life. Since I started covering this about 3 weeks ago, I have uncovered so much information, and this video I think is going to be interesting for my Duggar fans because there is a Duggar and Shin crossover sort of a connection. What? Yeah. Okay. Every outlet has been covering the story, and by now most people know that there is a group of dancers in Hollywood that are inside of a religious group that is posing as a management organization, and the dancers have almost their entire lives controlled. I've had an opportunity to speak with some former members, and through my work with the former members who were in the church when it wasn't about the dancers before then. This church has been around since 1994, I believe. So there's a lot of people that have been a part of this world. They talked about how Robert got really into a certain political candidate that I think is absolutely interesting because it happens to be a buddy of Jim Bob Duggar. What? Yeah. Yep, I know. When cults collide. Yeah, it happens. So back in 2008, Mike Huckabee was running for president. He was in an election where he was running for the presidential candidate, and it was ultimately John McCain who ran against Barack Obama for the 2008 election. But Huckabee was a part of that process, and he was came in second overall, even though his second was very short, very far behind John McCain. But during his election, he was, I don't know, he gained some moderate support, and he had some friends in the youth that picked up on him because he was using maybe, I don't know, online methods, and they liked some of the things that he was pushing about fair taxes, global warming, education. And he was on The Daily Show, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and The Colbert Report. So he was making the rounds around the media, and some people in the media really liked him more so than others. Now, Huckabee is an interesting one because Huckabee is, if you know, a longtime friend of Jim Bob Duggar's, and he also was a part of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. Although some people will try to say that Mike Huckabee was not a part of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, if you look through the various newsletters from the IBLP back in the 1990s and early 2000s, Bill Gothard and Mike Huckabee were working on developing character first cities and pushing out this curriculum to teach everyone about the IBLP's character qualities. So he was a conservative Baptist from Arkansas and a former governor, and also a good friend of Jim Bob Duggar's. Now, Mike Huckabee was one of the very few people that actually stuck up for Josh Duggar way back in 2015 because he tried to say that what Josh got involved in or what happened when he was a kid was when he was a child, and it didn't mean who he was as an adult. And he didn't think that, the coverage of him, describing him the way that they were at the time was fair. So he was one of the few people that came out sort of defending him. Josh was kind of touting along, rubbing elbows with him in Washington, and the governor, to this day, Jim Bob and Mike Huckabee have a good relationship. Huckabee was actually recently just endorsing Jim Bob's run for state senator, which he lost by a landslide. So anyways, back in 2008, at the same time Huckabee was running for office, apparently Robert Shin, who is of the 7M group or Shekinah Church International, he decided and told his cult that Mike Huckabee was the chosen leader of God. Robert Shin's group is a little bit different than the IBLP. They come from more of a Pentecostal belief system, not as legalistic as the Duggars and the Baptist origins and the IBLP sort of framework of all good thing. You have to follow all of these instructions. Robert is more of the prosperity gospel man that also believes in speaking in tongues, and he also believes in controlling all aspects of everyone's lives, and that every money, all the dollars should go to him. I mean, he's kind of like Bill Gothard. Bill Gothard liked all the money too, except he wants to keep a lower profile than Bill and doesn't like to have photographs online of him, except the Daily Mail has been snapping photos of him all over the place along with his harem of women. So back to the story. Robert Shin's group is of the Pentecostal faith base. I mean, that's sort of where he started. He has this loose affiliation with the Seven Mountain Mandates, which basically is a form of dominionism that says that in order to prepare for Christ's return, you have to sort of prepare all facets of the world for Christ. And that means, getting into entertainment, getting into politics, getting into like the dominionism. And he's very into dominionism, so taking over all facets of entertainment. So I guess I'm not super surprised that he would be interested in someone like Mike Huckabee, who had a leader like Gothard, who also followed that same model of dominionism and wanting to sort of like take over all facets of the world. This is not an unusual aspect within cults, but at the same time, it's just so, again, I'm like, what? Whoa, okay. So he also has this belief that it's like the seventh millennium theory, which basically is that right now is the time right before Christ comes and we have to prepare for rapture. So the former member told me that while he preaches that Jesus is coming and he's coming very soon. And so you don't have to have worldly possessions. You can get rid of them all, except he also wants you to show off that you have wealth. It doesn't make sense. But he uses the fear of rapture as a way to keep people in his control and in his loop. So back then, the church was in a completely different situation. They did not have a ton of dancers. It was just a smaller group of people, and he ran it with his sister. He apparently decided in 2007 that Jesus spoke to him, or God talked to him and told him that Mike Huckabee was going to be the next president, and he was the president that God wanted for the United States. So apparently, during that period of time, he got his friends at church, his members, to donate to Mike Huckabee's campaign. And each of them, as I was looking through Mike's campaign, I did find probably about 5 of his church members that donated $2,300, which was the max they could donate at the time to the candidacy. And Robert really wanted Mike Huckabee to win. He did not like Mitt Romney and apparently was not a fan of John McCain. Oh my goodness. It is so weird when two cults collide. Could you imagine someone like Robert Shin who doesn't care about what women are wearing to the extent that the dancers, they show their legs and they wear lower cut tops? Could you imagine him and Mike Huckabee and Jim Bob Duggar having dinner together? Robert Shin actually believes that he gets prophecies from God. So he believes himself to be a prophet and actually calls himself the man of God, which is listed in a lawsuit that was filed back in 2009 against him. And he also believes in lots and lots of donations that are made to him. So he asks for his members to not only tithe to the church, but tithe thanks to the church and gifts to him. On top of that, he also likes to have management control of people's lives. They live in homes that are dictated by him, and they have all of their actions allegedly taken care of and tracked down. Former members have told me about the tight control that he holds over people, which includes access into people's bank accounts. A former member even went as far as to allege that The Shins basically find housing for the most committed members. They take leases out in the names of the church or a member of the church, and then people live in the houses. So leases aren't even technically in the name of the person that lives in the house, which all the 7M members are living in homes that are organized through the church. It's really sad. So he seems to have taken different pieces of other people's faith beliefs and sort of combined it into something of his own. There's tiny bits of the 7 Mountains mandate in there. He has this 5-fold ministry thing where he believes that he is a prophet from God, which is also interesting because they have spiritual gifts, which is in the IBLP, and in the spiritual gifts, Jim Bob Duggar says he's a prophet. So could you imagine Jim Bob Duggar, Prophet Jim Bob, and Prophet Robert in a room together? Which one of their beliefs would win? They're both very, very conservative. They both are huge Trump supporters. They both are big conspiracy theory people. So they would have more in common than you would actually believe, except one is more like, you can't wear you have to be more modest than the other one. So Robert Shin's faith has a hodgepodge, and he's really more just like the rapture guy that believes Jesus is coming, and it's his job to prepare everyone for the return of Jesus Christ. And he also wants all the money of the people that he controls, allegedly. So former members that I have talked to have actually told me about how while they were in the group, the group would take money from their bank accounts and make payments for them. They would pay bills for them. And at times, because they had access to their bank accounts, they could see if the church was actually taking money for unnecessary purposes. Not only that, they made sure to take out tithing and gifts to Robert and to the church, allegedly from their accounts. It's so shocking to me to think that right before our eyes, there are people on TikTok that are having their entire lives controlled. I was also thinking about how every group has a look, right? So the Duggars, it was with the Gothard, he liked the really long hair, and you don't cut your hair and you have long loose curls, and the girls all wore the long curls, and you don't show your, knees, and you don't show your shoulders, and you're very modest. So he doesn't necessarily have modesty standards, but a former member told me that he is all about people looking the Sunday best and dressing up to impress. So always wearing prosperity first, name brands, designer bags, driving designer cars or luxury cars, living in large homes is the key for them to tell you how prosperous their lives are because of God. He believes that all the gifts and all of the success that the dancers are having are because of him. And he also tells people, allegedly, if bad things happen to them, it's because they have not obeyed him and they have cursed him. And he has cursed them or been cursed by God. Dancers are taught to submit and obey, which again is a lot like the IBLP, because they're taught in the IBLP as children that you must obey authority, you must be under your umbrella of authority. So in the Shin world, the umbrella is Robert and everyone's below him and they must submit to him. In Bill Gothard's hierarchy, it's the husband, then the wife, and then the children. Similar structure in the Shin world where men are in control of the women are to submit to their husbands. And sadly, a former member actually tells me they hold very similar beliefs about marital being joyfully available. So in the Duggar world, they say that you have to be joyfully available. You're no matter what, even if you don't want to, if your husband doesn't want it, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You have to give it up. According to the former member that I spoke to, it's the same teaching in the Shekinah Church group cult, and that is that women's bodies don't belong to them, and they have to give it to their husband no matter what. They also are taught, apparently by one of the leaders that was female, that if you're mad at your husband, you can also punish him by not giving it to him, which apparently caused quite a few divorces back around 2007, I guess. I don't know. So Robert says you can have it. His sister said you can punish them by not giving it to them. Tiny difference here between the IBLP and Shin's doctrine. I have posted a ton of information about this group on my Instagram, and I have no plans of stopping my coverage of this. We have so much more that we're uncovering, and I haven't even gotten into the really disturbing stuff, because right now we're waiting so patiently to figure out what the next steps are and how to get this man, Robert, held accountable for what is happening to these dancers, i.e. not getting paid what they should be getting paid, being controlled by a pastor who's managing their careers in every aspect of their lives while pretending like they have the freedom to come and go as they please, which is not the case according to the former member I spoke to. What Robert says goes, and what Robert wants, Robert gets, and if you don't obey, you are punished. So, get familiar with this. Are you surprised to hear that there was a crossover at one point between these two groups? Where do you think today the two groups would stand in terms of, do you think he would still support Mike Huckabee? And do you think Mike Huckabee would be surprised, or would Jim Bob Duggar be like, yes, another cult that wants to be like us? Or would they be like, oh, they are not modest enough for us. They are not godly enough for us. Which cult would rule? Which one do you think would win in a profit battle? Robert Shin or Jim Bob Duggar? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.